All right. Should be up and running here. Looks like, yep, we are good. We'll be going over the market. Pretty interesting day today in the market. I got some trades to go over for you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. We're about to close here in 4 seconds. All right, so I'll go ahead and let that closing bell hit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for December 2nd, 2021. Qs up 0.72, SPY up 1.4. Last couple days, all right, we've been bearish on the Qs and SPY, letting that downtrend work itself out. So coming into yesterday, we were still bearish on the Qs and the SPY and the IWM, but we were neutral on the Qs because the Qs, as I outlined, was more in this base. Well, we fell out of the base. Okay, so yesterday's sell-off took us out of the base. Okay, and so we were bearish coming into today, but notice the extension on the hourly. Okay, same for the SPY and the IWM. So big drop already. Daily wide range bar. So if you know, if you've been following the market wrap for long enough, you know when we get a wide range bar, the next day we're usually looking for an inside bar or a narrow range bar, and sometimes it's an inside narrow range bar. Now today's not so narrow, but it is an inside day on the SPY and the Qs. Okay, so mostly inside for the Qs and the SPY and the IWM. Okay, now if you were with me in the morning, then we outlined what kind of today might be like. Okay, and that was, I was saying, okay, if we drop hard at the open, okay, we're immediately going to focus on the longs. And that could be climactic buy setup. That could be relative strength, gap ups as well. Okay, if we sell off right at the open. That was coming into this morning, so I was going over the market, going over what we want to do today. If we get bought, that will be the hardest because we'll have to kind of wait and see. Okay, because we'll have to wait until we get a sell setup, which means a series of higher lows and higher highs, and then once it breaks the previous bar's low, then that'll trigger the sell setup, and then we will see how bearish the market really is. That would be the time to initiate shorts, and we'll see what we get because that will have created the pivot, and then we'll be able to see what we get. Now, going into tomorrow, okay, are we going to trigger the sell setup? Okay, because I said that the earliest we're going to get it is in the afternoon, and we could have gotten it here, okay, but we didn't. Excuse me. We didn't. We kept on moving up. So we have to break a previous bar's low. Okay, so underneath 218.60 or so, okay, that will trigger the sell setup on the IWM. Here it is on the Qs. On the Qs, I would go ahead and put these two bars together, and that's probably the same for that bar, just about all in the same area. So underneath 388.30, all right, good timing for shorts. That's what we'll be looking for in the morning if we sell off or gap down. Okay, for us to go back to down to today's low on the Qs. Okay, and then SPY underneath 356. 356.14 on that bar. Okay, so we have the sell set up. It just didn't trigger in the afternoon. I said the earliest that we would get it is the afternoon. We didn't get it yet, so now we're looking at tomorrow morning for a potential trigger of the sell setup. Now, if we trigger the sell setup and then we fail, which would mean we trigger lower and then we rally all the way back up and take out today's high on the SPY, yeah, Qs too, then we will no longer be bearish. All right, so this pivot, right, is in fact a very pivotal formation here for the Qs and SPY, at least for us in following the trend. So now that we have the pivot in place, all right, when we trigger lower underneath the lows of these bars, then we will be bearish until we take out today's high, which is the top of the pivot. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so we are prepared now for the bearish scenario once it triggers, and then the only way that we would be bullish, right, or lose the bearish bias if we trigger and then fail on it. Now, what if we continue to move up tomorrow? I'll still be looking for the hourly sell setup. That means it won't have triggered. Okay, let's say we gap up some tomorrow and then we move up. I'll still need to see a break of a previous hourly bar's low and see what the reaction is. If we gap up and we make some decent headway before doing that, that increases the chance that the hourly sell setup will fail. Okay, but for now, right, we know what the plan is. Okay, and what we'll be looking for. So more bearish leaning, all right, but we're waiting to see when this sell setup triggers. All right, let's go over the plays from today. Played the AI this morning. This was a 1 minute base breakdown here, right here, base breakdown underneath the whole number at $30. Stop over 30. I think we gave it to 60 though. Gave it like a 60s, yeah, over because that was 54. Gave it to 61 because this had a little bit of spread. Triggered right there, and then actually gave an ad, but I didn't see the ad. I was scanning, looking at other things, missing out on other things, you know. So this actually, if you weren't in it, was a good place to add. That would have been under 29.80, and then the stop over 30.24. So it's about a 50-cent stop. You don't get to add too much really, but would have got to add a little bit. Okay, first piece came out right here because we got a little bit of acceleration. I said 1 minute bar by bar. That trailed us out. Took out another portion as we got to 28.70. Okay, that was really what we're looking for as far as the target because that's more than 2 Rs. And then when we dropped again, past down here to 28, I said, let's take the rest of it. Okay. So we did miss out on one more new low. You can see that rally hard. We didn't have to live through that because we were already out, but it did come back and make a new low. Overall, I'm fine with it. You can see it definitely went lower after we got out, but then that ended up being the bottom and it rallied back quite hard. If you went hourly bar by bar, exit would have been over 29.07. Okay, so overall, I'm fine with it. You know, we knew that we had to trail it because this was gapping to all-time lows. So there wasn't going to be any reference. So it was just who knows where it's going to bottom. Your guess is as good as mine. And since we had already reached 3 Rs on the kind of play, decided to go ahead and take it. Like I said, we missed one more new low after that, but that's fine. I think overall, I'm not too bothered by it. I think the management was fine on this. I think it was a good play. Probably the only thing that I really think could have been done better was to do the ad here. Okay, but like I said, you know, when I was looking at other things, trying to catch other things as well. BYSI, I played this yesterday, was in it at the end of the day there. I was hoping it would drop, and it just kind of wouldn't drop really. I played it as a 15-minute sell setup, but I did not hold it overnight. So I played this little 15-minute sell setup, made very little. But look at that drop today in the morning. Oof, yeah. James put this out, so that was a nice mention. I know he played it as well. Nice on the BYSI, right? And look at that. Nice tight consolidation. And then breakdown. Beautiful. BYSI. Okay. And then this other KPLT, I just wanted to point this out and then kind of link it back to these other things that we were focused on. I got this question today. You know, because usually when I show you the daily charts, or I usually show you the charts and I show you like the daily chart and say, okay, here's the gap. Here's like the quality of the gap, right? And it may seem like I'm not paying attention to like the weekly and the monthly or what's happened in years past and that I only care about the last 24 hours. That's not true. You know, and I may not explicitly go over every weekly and monthly, but you know that when I go over them in the morning, if I think it's important, I will. So look at the ones that were our favorite short ideas, things that we're watching. I never got involved in this KPLT, but I did like it a lot. It was actually my favorite gap. That's what I said in the morning, my favorite gap. It just got bought at the open instead. But look at the weekly and the monthly. Someone was saying, well, what about if I care about data from the last 5 years? You care about data from the last 5 years, this is all-time lows. It doesn't, you know, all-time lows is all-time lows. Okay? Look at the BYSI. And let's go to the monthly chart. Is that not a very bearish looking monthly chart? And then same thing, VBIV, right? Very bearish, okay? And then the AI that we played in the morning, all-time lows, right? So while a lot of times when we analyze the gaps, we are zooming in to go over the short-term trend, the shock value, the immediate support and resistance. I'm not ignoring. In fact, I'm still favoring when something is severely damaged, broken down, and has been for years. Okay, now I don't want it to be, long-term novice. I don't want it to be just, straight shot down and then on the weekly and then I'm trying to short it or anything. Like this is a new, breakdown that just occurred on the weekly. Looks good. And then kind of like a 1, 2, 3 on the weekly with today's gap. So I just wanted to point that out because that sometimes I think seems like I'm not paying attention to the weekly and the monthly. But if you were to look at the weekly and monthly across all the ones that we're looking at that were the favorites today, you'll see, okay, the time frame alignment is there. Okay. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. We will be back at it tomorrow to finish out the week. Hope you're having a nice week. All right. So I will talk to you tomorrow. All right. Have a good evening.